What's up, YouTube? So today I wanted to do something that I wanted to talk about something that I is something some things I wish I knew when I first started collecting the expanded universe. Um, I'm still collecting it, nowhere near finish. I'm actually close to finishing a complete set of all the novels. I'm getting pretty close to finishing that. I'm pretty excited about that. I just have 5 or 6 more that I need. In fact, I can name them on top of my head: Wild Space, No Prisoners, um, Gambit, the Clone Wars duology, Order 66, The Force Unleashed 2, and that's it. I do have some other books that I don't have, but I do have them ordered. Tales from Mos Eisley, no, Tales from Jabba's Palace. I always get those two confused. Tales from Jabba's Palace, and I have Red Harvest ordered as well, and I have the Clone Wars movie novelization ordered. So I have those ordered. Those will be here within the next week or so. All three of them will be. So, and then the other stuff I'm still looking for. But what are some things that I wish I knew? But when I started collecting, um, well, it depends on what you want, what format you want your books in. Some people want hardback, some people want paperback, some people like in the EU's case, some people don't want the Legends banner, some people don't mind it. For me, I prefer, I started collecting them in the paperback form without the Legends banner. In fact, I prefer reading out of a paperback than I do a Legends banner, or a Legends banner than I would a hardback. I much prefer reading. Hardbacks are nice. They really are nice, but they're kind of difficult to read out of. They're kind of big, and it's just kind of it's difficult for me. Um, but with a little hardback, with a little paperback, you can a little almost pocket sized paperback, you could say. Um, it's just easier to read out of. I feel like for me, so that's why I have mostly paperbacks. But I do have a lot of hardbacks, and for books that I have a particular, love for, or more of a love for. I love all my books, but some of them mean a lot more to me. So like the Thrawn trilogy, Jedi Academy trilogy, the New Jedi Order. Um, those books I have in hardback. I have only one New Jedi Order book in hardback, but I need a. My goal is to have the whole series in hardback eventually. That's going to be difficult because that series is. There's like only 4 or 5 Del Rey hardbacks. The rest are SFBC. So, but let's say you just want your paperbacks, and you just want paperbacks. You don't care if it's a Legends banner or not. The best place to get those, I would say, is a used bookstore. Those are always the best place. That's where I think I would say about 40-50% of my collection I bought from my local half price books. That's where I got mine. Um, and the best part about that is most of the books at a used bookstore are paperback, and they don't have a Legends banner because they're used, right? And they're from people's old collections, before Disney bought everything. So that is what I would suggest. If you don't care for paperback, if you don't care if it has a Legends banner or not, you can also order from Amazon if you want, because you can get the mass market paperback that will have the Legends banner on it. Um, so yeah, let's say you want hardbacks though. Hardbacks, don't order them online. I found because you're never guaranteed to get the dust jacket, and we want that dust jacket, right? That has the dust jacket will have the beautiful cover art on it, and you don't want it without it. But if you can go to a used bookstore, at least my half price books does not have a huge collection or a huge selection, I should say, of hardcover Star Wars books. Rather, it's new canon or old canon. It's not a big selection. Even there's another one that is near me. It's not my local one, but it's near me. It's close enough. But I've been there a couple times, and they don't really have a whole big. They're a bigger store, but it doesn't have a whole lot either in terms of hardbacks. So where would you go to buy your hardbacks? Let's say you want some hardbacks. The best two places I would suggest are eBay and Mercari. eBay, we all know what eBay is. Now, eBay is interesting because, if you don't mind bidding, that's a good site for you. And the reason why I say those two sites as opposed to Amazon, because Amazon typically does not have pictures, but Mercari and eBay do. They always have pictures of the product that they're trying to sell. Because that's kind of the whole basis of, because Amazon also sells brand new stuff. It's a store. It's just like an online Walmart, basically, you could say. But it does have, you can also buy used stuff on there, but it's not as reliable compared to Mercari and eBay. Now, Mercari was actually introduced to me by Strictly Star Wars, otherwise known as Mac. She's been on my streams a few times. She introduced that site to me, and ever since I got that site, that's only where I bought my Star Wars stuff. I've not bought. I'll buy stuff occasionally from Half Price Books or any other used bookstore, if it's, if they have what I'm looking for. But typically, I've bought most of my Half Price Books will sell New Jedi Order books, Legacy of the Force books, and the Bantam books. They don't really sell. Typically, I don't see a whole lot of other books besides that. Of course, I have all those books, so it's kind of redundant to go there now. Now I'm kind of looking for very specific books, because back when I first started going there, I was looking for. I didn't have a whole lot of the novels, so typically every time I went there was a whole lot of new stuff to buy. But I've bought most of the books now. I have 95% of my collection, my novel collection, complete. So it's kind of redundant to go there. But Mercari has helped me find some of these books that I don't have. And even comics too. My comic collection has grown tremendously ever since I started going there. And we'll start getting into comics in just a second. I'm kind of focusing on the novels now. And the comics, that's a whole other, battle. It's almost like a battle here. It's not really a battle. It's collecting. It's fun. But Mercari is what I would recommend. eBay's, if you know how to use eBay, you can use eBay too. That works. That works just like Mercari. But I don't use eBay. I've never used eBay. Never been a big eBay guy. I have nothing against it. But if you're an eBay shopper, you may want to try eBay as well. But I use Mercari. It's reliable, it's quick, it's simple, it's easy, and they typically have what I'm looking for. So if you're looking for more paperbacks, you can go to used bookstore or Amazon if you don't mind mass market. If you want your hardbacks, I would go to used bookstore for that as well. But I'd also go to Mercari, more specifically Mercari. You can also, I don't know, comic shops may have some. I don't know. I've never bought a book at a comic shop. I've bought comics at a comic shop, but I don't think they would have novels. I don't know. Maybe your comic shop does. Mine doesn't. But speaking of comics, that's a whole other hassle. It doesn't work the same way as the novels because comics are in so many different formats. And all of the old EU comics were released in single issues. And then they would be, they're like your typical comics. They're not graphic. They weren't released as graphic novels, but they're released as the single issues. And there's different ways you can do it. You can buy the single issues. That is an option. And if you want to do that, Amazon would be good for that. I've seen a lot of single issues, even for like the old Dark Horse stuff, go pretty cheap. You can do that. You can also do digital comics. If you do digital comics, you're going to be, if you're a digital comic guy and you don't really care about having it in print, that will work. And I'm sure, I don't know, I've never dived into that, but that's an option. But let's say you want print. Print, that's what I like. I'm a print guy. I love my comics in print. I've read digital comics, but I don't really care for it. I'd rather have the digital book, or not the digital book, the print. I want it in print. Marvel is doing. Marvel has a line of omnibuses that they sell called Epic Collections, and they do it for all their franchises that they got. All the superhero stuff they do, and then of course Star Wars, right? Because they do the comics now. But Marvel has been doing something with Epic Collections. They've been printing everything in chronological order, I have found. So they started in the Old Republic. Actually, no, they started with Dawn of the Jedi, and then they've kind of moved down the line, and it's kind of divided up into different series. Like, for example, the Dawn of the Jedi stuff and the Tales of the Jedi stuff are in a single line of epic collections called Tales of the Jedi. Even Dawn of the Jedi is included in that. Then you have the Republic era, and then you have the Clone Wars, and then you have the Rebellion era, and then you have what else, what would you have? I mean, it's all divided up into different eras, right? New Republic era, that's another one that they're doing right now. And those have been really good for those who are not able to find different stuff, or these comics. They're reprinting them. Some of these comics have been reprinted in decades. Dark Empire being one of those. I think 2 or 3 years ago they reprinted Dark Empire in an Epic collection that I have. That was the only way I could have gotten it in print without, going through some other means that's probably illegal. So I was able to do that. And with the Epic collections actually being printed, a lot of the old trade paperbacks are actually they're going down in value. They're not, because now there's more of a abundance of these comics now in stores because of the Epic collections. Now the problem with the Epic collections is for some reason they go out of print very quickly, and it's kind of ridiculous. But if you want print comics, personally, I like the old Dark Horse trades. That's what I kind of buy. And again, Mercari is great for that. If you want Epic collections, you can also use Mercari. In fact, Mercari you can use for everything that I mentioned. You can use it for your novels, paperback or hardback, and your comics. You can do the whole lot. You don't need Mercari is basically if you want to collect the EU, go to Mercari. That's where I've gotten most of my books. Most of my comics are from Mercari. In fact, I have a complete Tales of the Jedi collection because of Mercari. I have a nearly complete collection of Legacy. I have some Clone Wars comics that are from Mercari. I have Mercari's been great. And I would definitely go there. And it is an app on your phone that you can get. You can also get it on, you can go to the website Mercari.com and buy stuff. This is basically an ad for Mercari. I promise I'm not sponsored, but I wish I was. But yeah, Mercari is great for everything. But comics are also good on Amazon. Now, I've never found any EU stuff in comic shops. EU comics at comic shops, I've never seen them. If you have, that works. If the EU was still being printed, I would say comic shop. Actually, I'd say that is number one because, but it's not being printed. We're not getting any new EU at the moment. So comic shops are not your best bet. Mercari is because all this stuff is out of print now, and it's just hard to find. Now, Dark Horse also did release some hardback collections of some of their stuff. Dark Empire got one. Crimson Empire got one. Legacy has, I think, 3 volumes. I think Dawn of the Jedi also has one, and maybe Tales of the Jedi. I don't know. They didn't do a whole lot of hardback releases. And then, of course, like all comic, publishers, they also had their own omnibus versions. Dark Horse released a lot of omnibuses for their comics. But those are hard to find. I think those are probably harder to find than anything else. So I would go to find either the original trade paperbacks, which depending on the comic, it may be expensive or it may not be. Or you can go to the Epic collections, which, like I said, some of those Epic collections are out of print, some of them are not. So, but what I can say with the comics is you're probably not going to get everything in print unless you spend a really pretty penny. But a lot of it you can get at a normal price. So now I'm not a comic guy. I don't read comics outside of Star Wars. I've read the Walking Dead comics, but I'm not a comic guy. I don't really know. But that's kind of my experience. I have the trades, the original Dark Horse trades. I have one Dark Horse omnibus, and then I have 3 or 4 Epic collections. I don't remember. It depends, It depends on what you find, and that's kind of what this is like collecting anything, it just kind of depends on what you find. You know, it kind of depends what you come across. So yeah, that's basically how to collect the EU, I guess, in a nutshell. You'll learn a lot as you continue. I'd start with the novels, start collecting those, and then you can, because the novels make up the majority of the EU story. And I guess the comics do too, but focus on the novels. So that's the easiest thing to collect for sure, even though that can be troublesome at times. Start with the novels, young adult novels. You may be able to find those at a used bookstore if you get lucky. You may be able to find it on Amazon if you get lucky. There's also another website called thriftbooks.com. I actually showed Max that website. I think I did. I think I showed her that website. I don't know. I remember mentioning it to her, but I don't know if I was the first one to show her that. But that's also another good one. There's a lot of stuff on there as well. I've bought a few books from there, and it's reliable. But I don't buy a whole lot from there anymore because I have Mercari again. Mercari, I get all my EU stuff from there now. It seems like I haven't bought. The other day I bought a couple of books from Half Price Books, but other than that, I have not bought anything from. I haven't bought EU stuff outside of Mercari in a long time because Mercari has everything I need. I can find basically everything on there for cheap prices too. Um, yeah, so there's just a lot of pros and cons, and the young adult stuff again, you can find a lot of that. I definitely recommend Mercari for that because most of my young adult stuff I got from Mercari. But yeah, that's basically how you collect the EU. At least that's how I do it. So it's a process. It's not instantaneous. Learn to like it. Learn to have fun collecting it. It's fun, and I think we can all, people who have collected the E for a while, we can all say that it's fun, especially when you when you get home from work and you get a message on your phone, hey, this product has been delivered to your home, and then it's like Christmas every day, right? Like today, for example, I got Mall Lockdown in hardback in the mail, and that's what I've gotten a lot of rare stuff off Mercari. Like Mall Lockdown in hardback is pretty rare. Dawn of the Jedi in hardback is rare. I've gotten the Jedi Academy SFBC hardback. That's pretty rare, and I'm paying like normal prices for all this stuff. It's not very expensive. Of course, it adds up, but if we're not going to talk about that, I have a complete Boba Fett young adult series collection because of Mercari. I have a nearly complete Jedi Apprentice and Jedi Quest books series. Um, Last of the Jedi, I have a complete set of that through Mercari. Um, Eventually, I'm going to start collecting the missions, the Star Wars missions, and a lot of the other young adult stuff I don't have because I try to buy the mainstream, the big series, first, and then now I'm moving into kind of the stuff that are a little bit more obscure. Well, maybe not obscure; it's just not as popular. I think that's a better way to put it. So the Star Wars missions, I don't have any Galaxy of Fear. I need to get on that. Um, but those comics are pretty rare. Galaxy of Fear is. That I call those comics. Those are books. Those young adult books. Um, Role playing games. Now that is something I have not ventured into. I don't have any role playing games in my collection because that stuff. Now that is expensive. That's like some really expensive stuff there. Especially the older it is. Fantasy Flight stuff. I don't think it's as expensive, but once you start getting into Wizards of the Coast and West End Game stuff, it gets expensive. But hey, you may get lucky and find a lot out there that's not very expensive. And that's what I also think is great. If you find a good lot for a pretty good price, buy that lot. Don't be afraid to buy lots. What I mean by lots is big like a whole one lot with just 5 or 6 books in it, right? Or a whole series. So. But yeah, that's my experience. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep streaming. If anyone wants to join, let me know, and I can invite you guys to join the stream. I thought I would just do this because I know some people You know, some people wonder how do I collect the EU? You know, what's a good way to do it? But it's mainly up to you. Up to you. It's kind of like where you are and where you're at, and you know, it depends. You know. Let me go ahead and find this invite link. I can just post it in chat for whoever wants to join. I'm gonna keep streaming for actually around 30 minutes because I would like to go read. I need to finish Unseen Queen. I only have like 3 or 4 chapters left. So Iron Inquisitor, what's up? What's up, Marcel, Raylo, Fab, whatever you want to call yourself. Tell us non-Americans how to collect the EU. That's actually a good point. I know he's just messed around, but it's actually a good point because I have it's I hate to say it's a privilege, but you know I'm American, and it seems like a lot of products these days are pandered to us. You know, people forget there's a whole other world out there. So I have found that farther away from America you live, the harder it is to collect it. Especially if you're overseas. Now I know Marcel's Canadian, so it's not as difficult. He has more struggle. I know he does because he's told me, but it's not like someone from the UK. You know, they have I know people over there who have a lot of trouble collecting it over there. And there are some like illegal ways you can do it. I'm not going to get into that. That's not for me to talk about, but you'd have to ask somebody else. But I mean, that's an option. And I do know of some illegal ways, but I'm not going to get into that. That's none of my business. So just ask. I'll just ask around, and you'll find someone who knows how to do some illegal stuff. But yeah, so I'm saying all this from the perspective of someone who is American, who lives in America. So, but it's different for everyone. It's cool. The Dawn of the Jedi hardcover actually has some comic panels in it from of not panels, pages, but like pages of the comic. I believe it's Prisoners of Bogan. It has some pictures of and whatnot, some an excerpt from. So that's pretty cool. I've never seen any other book do that. Um, but when that came out, it was kind of expected that would become a bigger miniseries or just a bigger multimedia project. But of course, that didn't happen due to reasons I'm not going to say because we all know those reasons, but unfortunate reasons. So Neza said he's going to join. Marcel, Iron Inquisitor, you should join too. Oh, okay. Well, I think I may actually end this. Well, I don't know. I may end the stream because I really do want to go read and get this book finished. So sorry, Nazo. I may stream a little later tonight though. Maybe around 8, 9 o'clock. We'll see. But yeah, that's how to collect the. I don't know why I wanted to. Sorry, Nazo. Maybe next time. All right. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.